Right, so you've now got a heel flap. Hopefully it looks a bit like this. This is in either partridge, so that's why we've got this little honeycomb pattern. Yours will have stripes and it should be roughly a square. That's going to be the back of your heel. So on your sock we will have a discussion about how many rows you need to do to make it roughly square. It's probably going to be 20, 22, something like that, but it's not crucial. It's about how it fits for you. So now we turn the heel. So again, we will talk about numbers for your sock, but if I just show you how I would do it on a 32 heel, which is on a 64 stitch 4-ply sock. So we're still using the double points, so these ones are still going to sit there, and so I've got 32 stitches across there. I'm going to knit across to here, and these stitches are going to stay there, and I'm going to not knit them, and I'm going to knit back across to here, and then so we'll have 2 lots of stitches that aren't being used, and then I'll knit back and forth and gradually pick them up until all the stitches are back on the needle. So that means you'll do extra rows in the middle, which give you a pouch effect, which you'll see turns into a sock, into a heel. So let's get a bit of yarn loose here. As you can see, I've managed to manipulate this sock, so I've got a slightly lighter yarn, so it might be a bit easier for you to see. So on 32, I'm going to knit 19 across. Just normal knit, you don't need to slip anything from now on. Well, no, you don't actually. Not until you get to the next sock anyway. And now I've lost count because I'm talking. So it's roughly 2/3 across, so I'll just go across and then count it. 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. Look at that. So the next 2 stitches you do slip, slip, knit. So you're reducing 1 stitch there, and then knit the next one. And at that point you should have 10 here. Yeah, 10 there. So those ones stay there for the minute. Turn it round, and then we purl back to here. But you slip the first stitch, but pull that nice and tight, and then purl 7. Numbers on your first sock will be different, of course, but we'll work that out. So slip and then 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we purl 2 together and purl the last one, so you should have 10 here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so we turn back to the right side, and we see these are the stitches we've knitted in the middle, and you see there's a gap there, which is the gap where we've turned. So we're going to slip the first stitch, and then we're going to knit across to 1 before the gap. So you don't need to count anymore, because it's obvious where the gap is, because look, there's the gap, great big gap. So 1 before the gap, so we do slip, slip, knit on that to bring that together, and then we knit 1. So now we should only have 8 here. 2, 4, 6, 8. Then we go back the other way, slip, and then purl back across. Ugh, I'm getting tangled here. Put the yarn over there out the way. Till we get to 1 before the gap again. There, so there's your gap there. And we purl that with the first of the ones that's been waiting. And then we purl the last one. So again, we've got 2, 4, 6. So we've taken 2 off either end. So basically, we just carry on like that till all the stitches have been used. Now I'm going to try and do that as quickly as possible. What's important to do is make sure the stitches round the gaps, you pull them nice and tight, because it's easy to get, it's easy to slip the bloody stitch off the needle. See, this never happens normally, but because I'm recording myself, yes, because I'm trying to do it too quickly as well. So slip, slip, knit to that, because these are forming the corners effectively of your heel. I don't know if you can see already, there starts to be, there's a flat bit there and there's a little edge there, so that's the back of your heel. Because now it's just in stocking stitch, because you're just you've finished doing the slip stitch, you're not doing rib, and you're knitting and purling, because we're not doing it in the round at the moment. So slip and purl back across, and you can see here actually the difference in the texture of the slip stitch heel. It's much firmer, and it feels more cushioned, so it's for wear and for comfort, but also it looks quite nice as well. And slip stitching, once you get your head around it, slip stitching, there's something else you can do with slip stitch, which involves the easiest colour work in the world. Trust me. There's no floats, there's no messing around with ferrule. So slip that, pull that nice and tight. All the ones we're slipping at the beginning of the row, slipping them purl wise, the same as you do down the edge here. You may want to fast forward through this bit a bit. Down to 4 that side. Sometimes when you slip the first one and then you purl the next one, they can get a bit sort of disorientated on the needle, as I just did then. Purl 2 together, purl 4 on there. So slip that one in. So you can start to see the shape of the heel along the edge there is forming. And then to 2. And the number of stitches you do on a heel, in terms of how many you leave in the middle, you can vary that depending on the shape of the person's foot. If you know somebody's got a really fat heel or a really pointy heel, they might find it more comfortable. But I tend to do, every heel I do, I tend to leave just the centre number, so that you've got 10 either side. However, the big sock you're doing, if you did that, that wouldn't leave you many in the middle. So I'll probably have to think about, have a look at the sock I did before and work out how many you did on that, because I can't remember. Right, nearly there. Honestly, this does become really straightforward. I really like that. My favourite bit probably is turning the heel, and the next bit, picking up stitches. A lot of people find that a bit daunting, but once you've done it a couple of times, it's no more daunting than anything else, because it's very clear where you pick the stitches up. So that's all of them picked up on that side, and you can see you've got a little line there. That's the flat bit of your heel. So I'm just going to go back on the other one. Now with this particular sock pattern, which is the one that I emailed to you, once you've picked them all back up, you end up with 20 stitches. But this particular pattern, you then do another 2 rows to bring it down to 18. Depends on the pattern, depends on the yarn. If I'm doing a different pattern but with the same pattern with a different stitch, I might or might not do that depending on how it works out. But it seems to give a nice solid flat heel. So you can see now you've got that flat area there, you've got the sides of the heel, so if you were to turn it that way, you can see then you've got an opening there. So the next thing we're going to do is pick stitches up along there, and then join those ones can actually join back in, and then you have your round will be round there. So that's quite a lot more stitches than round here. So then we need to decrease the stitches as you go down the foot. You've got a diagonal decrease, which narrows the gusset down. So I will just finish this here so you can get a proper look at it, and then I will stop recording now, and then I will record picking up the stitches, which I say a lot of people find it daunting. It's not that daunting. It's also quite forgiving if you pick up the wrong number, or say the wrong number, if you pick up a different number for the pattern, as long as you pick up the same on the other sock, then it should be similar in terms of the shape of the sock. Actually, socks are very forgiving. Sometimes you torture yourself because you think, oh, I didn't do that quite the same on the other sock. When you're wearing them, you don't notice. Nobody notices. So we'll just do this last decrease. So this is just, I just did slip slip knit on the last 2 stitches there, rather than the last 2 but 1. And the same with this, I'm just going to pull together the last 2 stitches, which will give me 18 stitches across these needles. Okay, so you can see there we've got our nice little neatly turned heel. So those are the ones that we left in the middle, and this is where we knitted across. So gradually picking up, picking up, picking up. Then we've got this shape here, which we need to then pick stitches up around there to make a sock. Right.